All right, friends, welcome to the channel. My name is Steve Patton with General Patton Bushcraft, and today I got another super exciting show. I'm covering and recapping Alone Season 10. This is Episode 2, titled Ties That Bind. Stay tuned. Okay, friends, as always, the Alone show starts out with a quote from a famous person, and this quote for episode 2 is titled Ties That Bind. The quote is, "Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat." And that's from Sun Tzu. All right, the show gets right into it with Ann. She's 56 from Wisconsin, USA. And she's telling us that she feels serious drop shock. The participants are equipped with 2 large cameras, 2 GoPros, 2 trail cams, and builds a nice temp shelter. It's a lean-to style with lots of spruce boughs for her bed. Finds some berries, and she finds some hedgehog mushrooms. And her strategy is to become part of the landscape. She does find some bear scat, friends. And at 9:34 p.m. that night, we see her cooking up those mushrooms. And she tells us that she feels super tired. All right, friends. The show moves on to day 2. It's about 9 in the morning, and we get to see Wyatt. It's about 70 degrees, and he wakes up and takes a bath. He's butt naked. He gets in that lake and washes up, and then he goes to work building a gill net. His strategy is to fish first, and he builds a nice gill net and sets it out on the lake with long logs, long pole-like logs. He deploys that gill net. All right, friends, day 2, 8:16 in the morning, we get to see Melanie, 55 from New York, USA. She urinates first thing in the morning right outside her shelter, and she tells us she needs to do that every morning. Her strategy is to work on a permanent shelter, and right away, she starts making a nice shelter, friends, and she's chinking each log on the walls with moss to make it airtight so that wind can't get through, friends. And day 4 now, 7:42 a.m., we see Mikey, 31-year-old, from Georgia, USA, and his top priority is to get food. He's only eaten 6 handfuls of berries in 4 days, and he sees lots of Labrador tea on the trail, friends. He forgot his orange paracord to mark the trails. Now, participants are not allowed to bring a compass. And oh my goodness, Mikey gets turned around and gets lost, and he spends most of day 4 being lost, friends. He finally gets back to his shelter. All right, day 4, about 1:30 in the afternoon now. Wyatt is brushing his teeth. Participants are allowed 1 toothbrush, but no toothpaste. We see him brushing his teeth, and then he makes a nice fishing pole. He checks the gill net, nothing. Tries fishing with the pole, nothing. And it gets super windy. He's getting 31 to 35 mile an hour winds, friends, and he can't sleep that night. It's just rattling his tarp. Now, day 5, 7 in the morning, he wakes up and he checks his gill net, and friends, he's got a big old 35-inch long northern pike that has about 750 grams of protein, and we see him cook that thing for breakfast, friends. All right, day 6 now, we get to see Jody, 45-year-old from Wyoming, USA, and she shows us those geese flying south. Matter of fact, Melanie and also Wyatt give us footage of all those geese in formation flying south for the winter, friends. And so the show moves over to Jody, and Jody starts working on her shelter. She also saw those geese, and they let her know, those geese told Jody, hey, you better get your shelter done. So she starts digging in the ground a little bit, and she's building a nice lean-to style shelter over that ground that she dug into. She also finds some fresh moose scat. So that's good news for Jody. Now, day 7, 9:45 in the morning, the show moves over to Taz. He's working on a gill nut. Here's a squirrel. We see him track the squirrel into the forest. He takes a shot, misses, but he nails the squirrel with his second shot. And then we see him start building a canoe with that tarp that he brought. His strategy is not to take more than 2 days on each project. He builds a real nice canoe with that tarp, friends. It looks awesome. He test drives it, and it's working great. It's pretty stable. Now, day 8, friends, 10:13 in the morning, back over to Mikey. And Mikey shows us his stinky feet with steam coming off of those stinky feet, friends. He decides to go hunting. He finds a grouse. This time he takes his paracord and he's marking the trail so he doesn't get lost, friends. So good on Mikey. And he nails that grouse, first shot. This is the first meal that he has in 8 days, and he says it tastes so good. Now, same day 8, about 3:45 in the afternoon, Taz finishes that gill net, and he lands a big lake trout. And he plans to smoke most of the meat, so he builds a teepee style smoker. Goes to bed, friends, and lets that fish smoke all night. And on day 9, he wakes up about 9 in the morning, friends. He stokes that fire in that teepee smoker. And oh man, bad luck on Taz. That whole smoker goes up in flames. Ugh. So now we're at day 9, about 8 a.m., and we move back over to Jody. And Jody shows us a bunch of blisters on those dirty hands of hers. She's got a wound on the top of her hand, and that she shows us putting some sap from one of those trees that she cut down on the wound. And that's got an antibacterial, antimicrobial property to that sap. And so she covers up that wound. And we see her building that log cabin. Very nice log cabin, friends. But remember, she's burning a lot of calories. All right, friends. The show goes back over to Mikey, day 9. It's about 3:17 in the afternoon. He's got no fish. He can't catch any fish. So he decides to work on his shelter, friends. His stomach is growling. He's very, very hungry. He's only had 1 grouse in 9 days. At about 5:15 p.m. that afternoon, Mikey's very sick, friends. His stomach's hurting, and the show ends with him complaining badly about being very sick. All right, friends, that's where the show ends. Friends, before leaving the channel, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell icon, and in that drop-down menu, do select all, friends. I'm going to be covering all of Season 10 of Alone, so you don't want to miss it. All right, friends, do give the video a like before you leave. And as always, God is good, God is great. I'll see y'all on the next video, because we already got a date.